Lola ran. Her feet slammed against hard earth as torchlight tore through the darkness behind her. Branches whipped her arms, thorns bit into her skin, but she did not stop. The sound of drums chased her like a living thing, fast, angry, relentless. Men shouted her name. Women screamed curses into the night. Don't let her cross the river. She will doom us all. Lola stumbled, caught herself, and ran harder. Her breath burned. Her heart felt too big for her chest. Ahead, the forest opened slightly, moonlight spilling onto a narrow path. Just as hope flickered, the ground trembled beneath her feet. She froze. A voice rose from nowhere and everywhere, deep and ancient, wrapping around her bones. Daughter of beauty, you have returned. The earth shook again. Lola screamed. And then the night vanished. Hours earlier, the same feet had walked calmly through the village square. Lola had balanced a clay pot on her head, eyes lowered, ignoring the way conversations died when she passed. She was used to the stairs. She had grown up inside them. Men watched too long. Women watched with tight mouths and colder eyes. Children whispered and giggled, calling her the glowing one. Cover yourself properly, her mother muttered as they walked. Beauty invites trouble. Lola adjusted her wrapper without argument. She had learned obedience early. Beauty was not something she celebrated. It was something she survived. At the stream, two women stopped talking as soon as Lola arrived. One of them hissed under her breath, not quietly enough. Since her hips widened, nothing has gone right. Lola pretended not to hear. She dipped her pot into the water, hands shaking. The reflection staring back at her was familiar yet unsettling, eyes too bright, skin catching light even in shadow. She hated mirrors. They told truths she never asked for. That evening, as the sun bled into the earth, Lola's grandmother called her close. The old woman's eyes lingered on her face longer than usual. "Did anyone speak to you today?" she asked. "Only insults," Lola replied with a weak smile. Her grandmother did not smile back. "Dreams?" Lola hesitated. "Yes." The old woman's fingers tightened around her staff. "What did you see?" "A woman," Lola said softly. "Buried. Alive. She was calling my name." Silence fell between them like a warning. Night arrived with unease. Dogs whined. Crickets stopped singing too suddenly. Lola lay awake, listening to whispers travel through the walls. Somewhere nearby, elders argued in low voices. She slipped from her mat and crept closer. "She bears the signs," an elder said. "We cannot be sure," another replied. "We were wrong before," a third voice snapped. "We ignored it, and blood followed." Lola's heart pounded. She pressed her ear harder against the wall. "The curse sleeps only until envy wakes it," the first elder said. "And envy has grown teeth." Someone said her name. Lola staggered back, breath trapped in her throat. She returned to her mat, but sleep never came. When it finally did, it dragged her into darkness. She stood in a pit. Dirt pressed against her chest. Above her, faces watched, familiar, hateful, afraid. As soil covered her mouth, she saw her own face staring down. She woke screaming. Symbols burned across her shoulder like fresh wounds. She clawed at them, crying, until her mother rushed in. "What have you done?" her mother whispered in terror. I don't know, Lola sobbed. By morning, the village buzzed. A child had collapsed. Crops had blackened overnight. Fingers pointed in one direction. Women blocked Lola's path as she stepped outside. Stay away from us, one spat. Another shouted, you attract spirits. Lola tried to speak, but fear sealed her throat. She ran instead. By sunset, drums began to beat. Slow at first, then louder. The elders gathered the people, their voices heavy with authority and fear. They spoke of tradition, of protection, of sacrifice disguised as duty. Lola listened from the shadows, heartbreaking as familiar faces nodded in agreement. Her closest friend met her eyes and looked away. That was when Lola understood. The drums grew wild. Hands grabbed her. Torches flared. Someone tied her wrists. Someone else smeared white chalk on her skin. She screamed her mother's name. No one answered. As they dragged her toward the forest, the ground shuddered. Lola broke free when darkness swallowed the moon. She ran. And the curse opened its eyes. Lola's lungs screamed as she ran, but the fear behind her was louder. The forest swallowed her whole, branches clawed, roots reached out like hands trying to drag her down. Behind her, torches bobbed wildly, voices colliding in panic and fury. Catch her! She must not escape. She carries death in her body. Lola slipped on wet leaves and fell hard. Pain exploded through her knees. She tried to stand, but her legs shook violently. For a brief, dangerous moment, she thought of giving up. Of letting them take her. Anything to end the fear. Then the ground trembled again. Not violently this time. Deliberately. The torches flickered. The shouting paused. A low sound rolled through the forest, like breath drawn from deep beneath the earth. The men chasing her froze. One dropped his torch. What is that? Someone whispered. Lola pushed herself up and ran again. She reached the clearing near the old silk cotton tree, the one children were warned never to approach. The air there felt thick, heavy, as if the forest itself was watching. Lola stumbled into the clearing and stopped short. The symbols on her skin burned hot, spreading like fire under her flesh. She cried out, clutching her shoulder. Please, she whispered into the darkness. I didn't ask for this. The wind answered. Leaves spiraled upward. Shadows twisted and stretched, pulling themselves free from the ground. A figure emerged slowly, tall, faceless, wrapped in moving darkness. Its presence pressed against Lola's chest until breathing felt impossible. You run from what was bound to you, the voice said, not with a mouth, but inside her skull. I don't understand, Lola sobbed. They hate me. They want me dead. They hated the first one too. Images flooded her mind. A woman from long ago. Just as beautiful. Just as afraid. Surrounded by people she trusted. Buried alive while envy rotted their hearts. The curse was not born of beauty, the spirit continued. It was born of what beauty reveals. Footsteps crashed into the clearing. The villagers burst through the trees, torches raised, faces slick with sweat and terror. When they saw the shadow towering over Lola, screams erupted. Forgive us. She called it. We were only trying to protect ourselves. The spirit turned slowly toward them. The ground split open beneath their feet. Several fell, crying out in agony as darkness wrapped around their legs like chains. You fed me, the voice thundered. With hatred. With jealousy. With fear. Lola screamed, "Stop. Please." The spirit paused. Its attention returned to her. You still care for them, it said. They are wrong, Lola cried, tears streaking her face. But they are my people. A woman pushed through the crowd and fell to her knees. It was Lola's former friend. Her voice shook violently. I betrayed you because I was tired of being invisible. Others followed, confessing in broken sobs. Envy poured out like poison finally exposed to air. The spirit's grip tightened. Confession does not cleanse hunger. The ground shook harder. Flames burst from torches and died instantly. Darkness crept closer to the village beyond the trees. The spirit faced Lola once more. There is a way to end this. Lola swallowed. Tell me. You must give up what awakened me. What? She asked, fear crawling through her veins. Your beauty, the spirit said. Not the flesh, but the light that provokes desire and hatred. It will leave you ordinary. Forgotten. The villagers gasped. Lola looked at them, at her mother sobbing quietly at the edge of the clearing, at the elders trembling, at the people who had once smiled at her and later tried to kill her. If I do this, Lola asked, voice breaking, will you leave them alone? Yes, the spirit replied. And I will sleep again. Silence stretched painfully. Lola closed her eyes. Then take it. Light erupted from her body like a scream made visible. The symbols flared, then cracked apart. Lola collapsed to her knees as the glow drained away. When she looked up, the spirit was fading. The ground stilled. Birds began to sing. The villagers stared at Lola in stunned silence. She stood slowly. Her reflection in a fallen blade showed a different woman, still beautiful, but softly, quietly so. The unnatural glow was gone. She felt empty. Free. The elders approached, shame heavy on their faces. Stay, one pleaded. We will honor you. Lola shook her head. You already showed me who you are. She turned away from the village without another word. She walked toward the rising sun, not knowing where she was going, only that she would never return. But the forest watched her go. And somewhere deep beneath the earth, something stirred, just slightly, as if remembering her name. Lola walked until the sun climbed fully into the sky. Each step felt strange, like learning how to move in a body that no longer belonged to the same story. The forest thinned behind her, but its presence clung stubbornly to her back, as though it was unwilling to let her go completely. She did not look back. By midday, her strength began to fade. Hunger gnawed at her stomach, but it was nothing compared to the ache inside her chest. For the first time since childhood, no one stared when she passed through a narrow footpath leading to another settlement. No whispers followed her. No sharp eyes tracked her movements. She should have felt relieved. Instead, tears slipped down her cheeks. At a small roadside hut, an elderly woman selling roasted yams looked up at Lola and smiled politely, the way one smiles at a stranger who means nothing at all. Sit, the woman said kindly. You look tired. Lola Saturday. The woman handed her food without asking questions. As Lola ate, she realized something painful and profound. This was what normal felt like. Invisible. Safe. Lonely. That night, Lola slept under an open sky. No dreams came. No voices whispered her name. The silence was so complete it frightened her more than the curse ever had. She pressed her palm to her chest, half expecting the cymbals to burn again. They did not. Far behind her, the village woke to a new morning. The people gathered quietly, moving like those who had survived a storm they pretended not to understand. Crops stood green again. Children laughed. Life continued. But guilt lingered. The elders poured libation, not out of tradition, but shame. They spoke Lola's name only in murmurs, as if saying it too loudly might summon consequences again. "Do you think the curse is truly gone?" one elder asked. Another answered softly, "Curses do not vanish. They sleep." Days turned into weeks. Lola traveled from place to place, working where she could, sleeping where she was allowed. Some nights she felt watched. Some nights she woke suddenly, heart racing, convinced she had heard drums in the distance. One evening, in a crowded market far from her birthplace, a young girl tugged at her mother's wrapper and pointed at Lola. "She looks sad," the child said. The mother glanced briefly, then shrugged. "We all are." Lola turned away, her throat tight. Beauty had once defined her. Then it had nearly killed her. Now she was just another face in the crowd, carrying a story no one would ever believe. Or so she thought. That night, as she slept near a riverbank, the water rippled unnaturally. Lola sat up, breath caught in her throat. The moon reflected something beneath the surface, dark, shifting, patient. A familiar voice brushed the edge of her mind. "You chose mercy." Lola's hands trembled. "You said you would sleep." "I am sleeping," the voice replied. "But envy does not die. It only changes hosts." "Why are you telling me this?" Lola whispered. "Because you are free," the spirit said. "And freedom sees clearly." The water stilled. The voice faded. Lola did not sleep again that night. At dawn, she understood something she had not before. The curse was never truly about her. It had passed through her, using her beauty as a mirror to show people who they really were. And though the spirit had withdrawn, the seeds of envy still existed wherever humans compared themselves to one another. She could not carry that burden anymore. Lola stood, washed her face in the river, and continued walking. Years later, stories spread quietly across regions, stories of villages torn apart by jealousy, of friendships poisoned by comparison, of families destroyed not by spirits, but by resentment. Some elders began teaching a new warning. "Fear your hatred more than any curse," they would say. Somewhere on a dusty road, Lola heard one of those stories told by a stranger around a fire. She listened in silence as the man concluded, "They say the curse awakens when people forget how to love." Lola smiled sadly. She had lost something precious to save others, but she had gained truth. And truth, she learned, was heavier than beauty, but far more powerful. As the fire crackled, Lola pulled her wrapper tighter and stared into the flames, knowing her journey was not about running anymore, but living with what she had chosen. And if you've stayed with Lola till this very end, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more powerful African supernatural stories, and share your thoughts in the comments. Was Lola truly free? Or was she simply the first to see the curse for what it really was? Because sometimes, the most dangerous curse is not ancient. It is human.